first, I call it the inaugural GG
You're
Community
definitely
Council.
muted, Tim.
Am I? Oh, you know what? I wasn't muted. I just wasn't holding my push to talk key, so TeamSpeak could hear me. So, listen, buddy. Technical audio difficulties are paramount. So, good evening to everyone in TeamSpeak, and welcome to the first first inaugural GG Community Council. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics, from what it means to be part of a community, to how you want to be involved in the community, and to how thus far you've made an impact. We're getting started here. We're going to give it a few more minutes for people to show up, and then we're going to kind of close the doors. In about 3 minutes, we're going to invite some of our participants' friends. So while we do that, and if you guys see anybody message in chat or IRC wanting to get in, please let me know. But we're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. A few ground rules that we're going to talk about first and foremost is one, no eating pie on the stream. Keep that.
Darn it.
That's funny. No, past eating pie and spilling milk on himself. So a couple of the ground rules, though, with all seriousness aside, is if anybody involved in this council is part of the Alpha or signed an NDA with Motiga, please respect that. We're not going to talk about NDA stuff. We're not going to breach the NDA, and if you do, I'm going to straight up say it. I'll just remove you from the channel because we're going to respect Motiga, and that's kind of what we're here to talk about Gigantic as a whole. Number two is we're not going to do any witch hunting. We're not going to go looking for things that aren't necessarily problems. So please, keep in mind that we're here to help build a community and help kind of grow this. So if you have any negative things, as long as we can talk about it constructively, then we'll absolutely talk about it. But if it becomes a matter of contention or becomes a flaming war, it's just not why we're here. We're here to have fun. We're here to talk about Gigantic, and we're here to really kind of to get together. So we do have some Motigans listening, I'm sure, out there in the world. So hello, Motigans.
Hello.
So we are. Go ahead, and if you guys have anybody you want to invite, go ahead and give them the TeamSpeak info, and then we'll.
Do we have a password?
No, but I will have to drag them into the channel.
He has ultimate power.
Or
Drag
actually,
them in
you
by
can.
their hair,
Fox.
kicking and screaming. Yeah, will do.
So we're going to start off, and we'll go down the list and let everyone say hello and introduce themselves. So we'll start with the most important person. No.
Jason was moved to your channel.
We're going to start with Baz.
Okay, what do you want me to do?
Introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Patrick Cannon, otherwise known as Bazil. I'm doing a lot of video coverage on the game, mainly focusing on esports and all that fun stuff. And YouTube channel is /Bazil, Twitter @Bazil. Pretty much any social media is Bazil, unless it's like some porn actor. That's not me. So,
You sure?
then I don't know. I could have an alternate ego. No idea. I've been doing esports for about 13 years now, and really passionate about the game. Motiga has been very impressive as far as the developer goes. So I'm really excited for the game, and I'm really excited to watch the community grow and help that. So that's me.
That's you in a nutshell.
It is.
All right.
Or
Let's
an acorn.
move on to or an acorn or a pie. Let's move on to Fox or Faux.
Well, Fox. Especially to the Motigans out there, it's Fox. Since you sometimes read my name in chat, that's kind of weird. But anyways, yeah, I'm Chris or Fox, however you want to put it. I recently posted my first video on Gigantic on YouTube. So it's like a new area for me. I come more of the Twitch side of things. Started with Guild Wars 2 and shoutcasting there. And yeah, let's see how Gigantic plays out. So far, I love what I can see and the community, because it's a very positive one. So let's keep it that way.
All right. Well, welcome both of you. I'm Tim Darius Slager. I started Motiga Unleashed back in February when Motiga hadn't announced their title. I got curious, so I decided to build a website that was terrible, but it was functional. And we from there, once Motiga announced, we we switched over to the GG Unleashed. So Go Gigantic Unleashed. During that whole transition, I spent some time with Motiga out in San Francisco and Seattle, and really got to know parts of the team. And there's some really great people out there. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm driven, is because you can feel their passion. And then there's some real big goobers out there like Greg, that we just frown upon.
He's a
Greg,
goober.
he's a goober, but no,
He just left, by the way.
yeah, well, that's okay. I'll text.
That's
him. He's
why
a
he
goober.
mentioned him.
This is a talk
Yeah.
behind
Well-
his back.
We'll harass him later.
Yeah, he's always an IRC. So I was going to soapbox now a little bit, but we'll move on with the introductions. Over to Chief Sarkhan.
If he's here.
Nope, he's not. Hi, my name's Chief Sarkhan. I like to do stuff and things and stuff.
And I'm really old.
I was in the Navy. I was a chief. That's why I got the chief. I like
you
boats.
did say it was my time, so shut up.
You weren't here.
I was here. I was waiting for you to shut up. So I'm Franklin, aka Chief Sarkhan. I'm a writer, reviewer, streamer, and my official title here on GG Unleashed is Tim Heckler. I've been around with him since he created the first site. I wrote articles there. I've gotten to know quite a bit of people at Motiga. Personally, they're great people, and yeah, I'm here to support and heckle Tim.
And he does
Oh,
it
and
well.
Baz, he's number 2 on the heckle list. So
Hey, at least I'm not number 1. That's an improvement.
That
for
seems
me.
to be a problem for you not being number 1.
well, you know what they say about what's number 1 and number
Move to your
2,
channel.
right?
Number 2's crap.
Aw. Dang, wow, you guys are just horrible today. That's awful.
Well, welcome, Franklin. Let's move on to Fluxy. Fluxe?
Yeah. Yep.
Fluxai?
You got it.
Is it French?
Fluxe. Jason Lacey. In-game name of Fluxe. I really cut my teeth playing a lot of FPS stuff back in the early 2000s. Got way too into Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, and that got me into more of a competitive side of games and really a close-knit community type of thing. And since then, I've kind of, obviously life, everything else progresses, and being in your 30s now, you don't have as much time for these things as you'd like. So you really, have to pick a time that you want with for games. So you want to stick to something that's quality and that you're gonna have a good community built around. And I think that's what's drawn me to Gigantic. I jumped right on the idea right when the first announcements went out, last month I think, and I've just been eager for any information since then. Lurk a lot on Reddit. I try to hang out in the IRC chat as much as I can, but work schedule makes it a little difficult to keep on top of it. But really, I'm just excited to build something with all of you guys and looking forward to a great game.
Dick.
Hey, real quick, Baz, can you PM Ralloff the TS info? He's an IRC.
Oh, sure.
So, and if any of you guys, we invited about 30, I think there's 36 people in total. We didn't get 36 people, so I definitely invite, if anyone out there wants to get involved, hey, Shu, if anyone wants to jump into TeamSpeak with us, by all means, ask one of the mods in Twitch, or if you're in IRC with us, and they'll get you over the info. We'll go over the ground rules again at the end of the introductions, but let's move on to Locksmith.
Good night, good night. I'm Locksmith. I run a small gaming community, around 400 members. We gained a lot of people from Docket, and I'm hoping to move a lot of people over to Gigantic when it starts, and to gain some new members from Gigantic.
Error.
Cool.
Well, welcome aboard.
So I guess I'm here to talk about community.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the whole point of this is community, right? So I think that's right now just the number of people in this channel kind of screams that there's a community and a passion behind it. Who does this on a Monday night? Most people are drinking.
We do.
We do. That's right. We go hard. So let's
Instead
move
of
right on
drinking,
to
I'm eating pie.
pie. Let's talk about that for a second, and then we'll move on to Jason.
Let's do it.
So when I sent out the email invitation to everyone, okay, Troy can't join us because he's on his iPad.
Oh.
He's on his pad.
I was gonna say something else.
It's that time
but
of the month.
It is that time of the month.
Wow.
JK,
I didn't
sorry,
say
Troy,
that.
I love you.
That was Jason Gasmask Plisso. Anyways, so Pi. When I sent out the invitations, I told everyone that there would be punch and pie that they had to provide. So Patrick took me literally and went out and provided his own pie. Why don't you show everyone your pie?
I see. Here,
Oh,
some pie.
see, I thought you were gonna have
Multi-berry
like the
pie.
whole pie.
No.
Oh,
That
fatty.
would have made
Let's
my
move
wife
on.
angry. So.
Jason.
Hey, what's up? So my name is Jason Gasmask Fleeso, and I started this whole gaming community thing back with Guild Wars 2. I just saw a game where I wanted to play competitively, and so I did that. And I noticed that while I was streaming and playing that game, that there was a lot of people, there was a big market for people who had a lot of questions that they felt like they didn't want to ask certain streamers because they felt as if they weren't on an equal basis. So what I did was start this whole movement of equality. It was a little overdone, but basically I wanted to give voice to the people that felt like their voice didn't matter. And so with Gigantic, I hope to almost do that same thing, because I feel like with a game, you really need to nurture the beginners, the newer players, and help them over that learning curve so that they can actually have fun and experience the game. I've met so many people who've played video games and they quit before they even understand it, and so they don't get to play it and have fun with it. And that's kind of the same feeling I want to bring towards Gigantic, and that's why I'm here. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Fox, and thank you, Motiga, for this great opportunity. I
I
appreciate
feel
it.
like we should be handing you a statue right now.
Yay! I would like to thank the Academy.
Yeah, just wrap it up. Play the wrap-up music. It's
Don't. Yeah. So, no, and I think Jason, you kind of really just summed up what we're here about, and we're really here to help nurture our community and kind of develop it in ways that we can. Obviously, our contribution to the game itself is going to be what we can, and we can't necessarily add artwork or add code, but we can definitely add excitement and encouragement around it, and I think that's why we're all here.
Yes, sir.
With the exception of Kennedy. Kennedy's here for the popularity and the girls.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I did graduate with a BA in game art and design.
Okay,
That
well, there you go.
counts.
So, let's move on to Kennedy.
Hey, yeah, this is JKKennedyTV. As of yesterday, former community manager of GameBreaker TV, now
Oh, wow.
independent for myself. Stepped down, but I am glad to be here with Gigantic. My gaming experience has always been in PvP, and I've really loved and enjoyed that. And when Smite came out, I was big in helping bring up that community, starting off with one of the first community shows, bringing in community members from left and right for a live video show for that. And it was really exciting. So when I heard Gigantic again get announced, it was just like, this is the actual game I want. This is the TPS / MOBA / whatever team fight combination name we want to come up with it. And with the Z-axis, and I was like, I'm jumping right into this, and I'm excited to get started with the community and help it grow, and just glad to be here with you all.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that the transition from what you've done to how you can apply that to Gigantic, and then I know GameBreaker TV, so I'm glad you were able to join us, Kennedy.
Glad to be here.
Let's move on to Lauren. I was gonna skip you just because it's funny, but I won't.
I had that sense. I was like, he's gonna say Malchior. I'm calling it right now.
I was going to.
I have my own personal heckler. Okay. I'm Lonrem. I'm the community manager, community lead. I wear many hats for Nook.com. I've been a fan of Gigantic and what's going on, just from having a little interaction with Aether. And basically, Nook and myself are here to support the community. We're fans of any time when developers are actually working with their community. So we wanna make sure that we're involved in helping bridge that gap wherever we can. So this sounds like the place to be.
It is the place to be. We're popping.
It's overall red and popping.
Drop the beat. Whoa,
Is that the slang
whoa,
kids are
whoa,
using these
whoa.
days?
I
Popping.
have no idea. I'm
It's-
trying to be cool.
It's popping. Whoa,
Whatever.
that's weird. I just read Twitch. So let's move right on to Malchior, Clint. I'll call you Clint.
Keep trying. All right, it works.
Malchior.
That was close enough.
Yay!
Isn't that the thing from Neverending Story?
No.
Falcor?
Oh,
It's
Falcor.
it's similar to the Time Mage from Chrono Trigger.
Heck
Oh,
yes.
okay.
I'm not going to go into the mythology of that.
Let that
It's
one be.
actually from mythology, so yeah.
Cool. I'll take it. Anyway, I'm Clint Oliver, also known as Malchior Devonholm. I originally worked with Saberwolf and Izari for the Guildbag podcast several years ago while Guild Wars 2 was still in development. Recently, I currently am a co-host for the Relics of War podcast, continually doing coverage on Guild Wars 2 development and the current game. In the past, I've also been involved with the competitive community as a top 100 player in the Guild Wars 1 GVG ladder for
Wow.
08-09. And got to know people like James Finney and Allie for the work they do in the through the Guild Wars game. So that's why I'm here. I kind of stalked them over to this company, and I was like, oh, hey, this is pretty cool. It's got a couple of my old friends there. And then I got my hands on the game at PAX, and holy crap. I cannot wait to get back on this game. I'm thoroughly excited for the game and its community.
Nice.
Well, welcome.
I'm jealous you got to play.
Well,
I did
you talked to him.
I
You interviewed him.
I know. I did an interview with you a couple. What was it, like last week or so?
Last week. Yeah, I was too drunk to do it, so thanks. So let's move on to Pelican, who is also, I believe, the newest and currently our only representative from the subreddit. He is the newest mod over on the subreddit.
Ooh. That is correct.
So I'll
watch your
you.
butt. I'll ban you for no reason.
He's preparing the Gundams as we speak.
I haven't had to ban anyone yet.
That's good.
Yeah,
Let's
but,
change that.
Yeah,
my
here,
name
hang on. I'll change
is-
that really quick. Let me make a spam account.
My name is Pelican. Also probably known as John Baxter. And Boozy Pelican because Pelican was a terrible name choice and is taken on most sites. So I added Boozy in front of it because reasons. And
drunk.
Because why not?
maybe. But yeah, I'm a fan of video games. I really don't know what else to say. I've been involved in various communities, never anything official, generally just a passionate fan, involved in alphas, QAs, things like that. I say QAs loosely. I didn't get paid and would probably be insulting anyone that actually does QA. But I got into this game via the way everyone else did, aside from you psychos that knew about it before it existed.
Like Tim.
Yeah, I didn't know about it before it existed. I just tried to figure it out, which we came up with the concept that it was a Guitar Hero MOBA.
Oh, wow.
Probably a good choice. They should have
Okay,
gone that
so
direction.
Motiga, your second game is now a Guitar Hero MOBA. There you go.
Well,
Tim
no,
just
it
gave
ju-
you
it-
a
it
million
just-
dollar idea.
No, it just needs support to plug in a Guitar Hero controller and play Gigantic with that.
That would
totally
end in
doable.
smashed guitars.
You can
How
only
many
move forward if
buttons
you
do
get
you
those
have?
chords right.
Wow.
Oh, that would be
All right.
amazing.
So-
That needs to happen.
Possible.
Hey, you know what? There's all these emulated keyboard controls and stuff like that.
Hey, I watched someone play Dark Souls and win it with a Guitar Hero pad, so yeah, it's totally possible to probably
That's
play this game.
amazing.
That's amazing, yeah.
I watched a fish play Pokemon.
That was...
That
staying on
was another definition of amazing.
They also played
I
Street
think
Fighter.
the better one was when it was Twitch plays, I think, Street Fighter.
Yeah.
And it was fish versus fish.
Yeah, that's fish versus. It was the slowest match in the history of match. I think it might still be going on. So
funny.
Pyro, tell us about yourself.
Hey guys, so I'm a Twitch streamer, Locksmith. I'm actually with Locksmith, one of the admins for the GLG community. I'm the assistant community manager there. I also do for charity LAN parties. I wear a couple other hats that I won't bore you guys with, but yeah, community is amazing, and it's one of the big reasons why I play Dawngate and why I'm playing Wildstar, why I'm really excited about Gigantic. I have had the privilege to go to Motiga and do a in-house playtest. I cannot say any more than that.
Nice.
So I have had my hands on the game a bit more than probably a lot of people who are on the stream right now. Super hyped for Alpha to get out to the rest of you because this game is fantastic.
Sweet. I'm jelly again.
That is refreshing to hear.
It's, man, I don't like you immediately because you've been to the studio playing it. I haven't played it since July, so. But let's
Real
not get
mature.
immature here.
We don't, I played it and can actually talk about stuff.
That's true.
I mean, I could talk about it from July, but I don't know, how much
It's probably
July.
What's changed since then?
Anyways, moving right along. Ralloff. We'll call you Randy.
Hi, I'm Ralloff. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, we hear you just fine.
So I'm kind of new to this community. I only found out about this game a little bit over a month ago, but I saw the community support like before even Alpha comes out. So I was real fast to get into this game. I'm kind of super into competitive. I got into competitive gaming back when Guild Wars 2 came out. I mean, that was like my first taste. And then big into the Smite community, and Smite, I was ranked 1 on Tier Monster for arena gameplay and high ranking for Conquest. So basically seeing the design team for this game and seeing their support for their community and their incentive to make the game competitive if they can, and the community's incentive to do that, I'm just super excited for this game to come out and start streaming, shoutcasting, and organizing tournaments, because that's some of the stuff I did in Smite.
Yeah, fellow shoutcaster. Woo woo.
Oh man, shoutcasting.
Shoutcasting's so fun, man.
It is.
So
It is.
I'll toot my own horn here a little bit, because nobody has yet.
No one wants to know about
Yeah,
you, Tim.
Yeah, everyone wants to know about me. That's why my camera is here, and I can, Anyways, so shoutcasting. I have yet to be challenged on this, but I started the first MMO shoutcast in 2001 with Ashron's Call Radio. Yeah. What?
it.
Get some. You're welcome, internet.
Get it.
I feel
I'm
so
sure
out of
there's
experience.
like 3 people besides myself that actually knows what you're talking about. It's
Yeah,
just sad.
probably. So we'll move right on to Paige.
Hello, my name's Paige Fabio. I found out about the game through Allie Murdoch and also Kate Hargrove when I saw some of her artwork. I'm more about the fine-tuning of the game itself, so I also played it at PAX quite a bit.
Man, so many people playing at PAX. What the heck?
I feel like
You guys
we
probably
should have went to
heard,
PAX.
You guys probably heard the sultry sound of my voice on the microphone constantly.
Oh, on the live stream?
No, I was the guy in the room. I'm an enforcer at PAX too, and I was the guy doing all the
Okay.
announcements to support our sponsors in the room. Motiga and Gigantic being one of them.
So Pyro, just based on your voice, are you like a 7'4", 300-pound muscular Goliath man?
Lumberjack.
Pretty
He's
accurate.
5'1",
Lumberjack.
210.
He's
exactly
lumberjack and
that.
he's okay. He sleeps all night, he works all day.
I do have a pretty sweet beard I've been working on. I am 6'3" and 250 pounds since you asked.
Holy, wow. You big man. You big man.
Man, why didn't we get your beard
True.
on stream?
I'm a softie though. My beard was on the launch event stream. If you
Okay.
actually touched it,
Did I?
Tim,
touched the
yes you
epic
did.
beard.
Man,
Awesome.
I drank a lot that night, so
That's fair.
once I see a
I was-
picture of you, I might remember.
I don't remember.
I remember talking to you because I know we talked about
yeah.
how you were an enforcer, but I don't remember much after that.
That's fair.
So, all right. Well, I want to thank everyone for taking their time out again for joining us Monday night. Everyone in Twitch for joining us and listening into this random banter. We're going to do this on a semi-regular basis right now. We're aiming at probably every 3 weeks or so. That'll change as time goes and as more interest gets in. We also have the possibility of having a European version of this. So for any of you EU folks that are up late, I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you very much. But we be working with some of our EU folks over at GG Unleashed to try and spark one of these for folks over on the wrong time zones. So we'll get one of those going for you guys.
Shout out to Fox though. He's staying up.
Oh yeah, he's
for
a
it,
baller.
for being here.
But don't you
Yeah,
live
just
in the U.S.,
just have
Fox?
to work tomorrow, so yeah, it's all right.
Don't you live in the U.S., Fox?
I
No.
do.
That's right.
You do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not that impressive.
I thought you were EU. You lied to me, sir.
Always.
to me.
I'm moving a lot. Sometimes I'm an Aussie as well, you know.
Okay.
He reminds me of that country song about the guy who is a bunch of different things online. So, anyways, couple other things. Yeah, my wife's a big country fan. Couple other things. If any of you guys have signed an NDA with Motiga, we don't talk about that in here. This is a completely open forum, so just protect yourself if you have signed any sort of NDA or have participated in the game in any capacity that you're not allowed to speak about. Be respectful. We might get into some discussions that are a little more on the heated debate side of things. So just remember, rage. Just remember that we're here as a community, to talk about things and really kind of discuss it and get our opinions out there and feedback and do as much as we can to contribute to the community. And finally, let's keep the language kind of to a PG. We never know whose kids are listening or who is a kid that's participating. From what I see, Gigantic's going to be played by the young and old. So the old being me, the young being Bazil.
Hey now.
Hey.
Hey.
You were away from your mic. I got to take a shot at you. So we really don't. We have some topics, and we're going to go into the first one. And I'm going to throw this out there, and whoever wants to chime in, by all means, please don't hesitate to. What sort of role do you guys want to play in the community? What is your goal and aspirations in the community?
So we're in a kind of open discussion right now.
Yeah, absolutely. This is how this is going to be.
Yes, it's open floor. But I guess I'll start us off here. I'd like to definitely be the forefront for esports and get that off the ground. As I said before, I've done this kind of stuff for a good 13 years now. I worked with Fox to help Guild Wars 2 get off the ground, and he was a big help there, so I'm sure he'll be a big help with Gigantic. And I've worked with a couple other people, such as Ken, who we helped the esports scene grow in Smite as well. And that's kind of what my role wants. I want to be, at least. I know I do a lot of videos and stuff for just the general talk of the game, but I want to make sure to keep Motiga honest and keep their game in the best possible shape it should be, even if that means possibly pissing them off by saying something that I don't find to be trustworthy or gaming quality, like the rune system of like League of Legends, putting that into like some sort of Gigantic style of gameplay, or putting some sort of arbitrary rank system that really doesn't have anything to do with the game itself, but just kind of gives people more of like an EP boost. So kind of stuff like that. I like kind of hitting the hard topics and really kind of making sure that the developers are on their toes. So I'm that guy.
And you need to keep Troy on his toes anyway. You gotta watch him. Seriously.
I think he has ballet shoes too that he tippy toes around. But
hey, ballet. Any man that can do ballet, you gotta have respect
for real. But I think you should. I think you brought up something interesting, and I kind of this is an interesting statement. But this is about us. This is about the community. So if you say something that you think is, or let me rephrase this: if you want to say something but you're afraid I'm going to piss off Motiga, well, it's obviously your opinion. It's obviously something that you're passionate about or believe in. So as long as you're not super critical and at least understand that this is all a discussion and in most part speculation, don't hesitate to talk about it. They probably want to hear this stuff. They want to, they want to know the pulse of the community, and this is a good way to do that. So, if you feel like you want something to say but are scared of Troy coming into your house in the middle of the night with a mace and clubbing you, he probably will, but he'll give you a Band-Aid afterwards.
He's got to find me first.
He's probably got your address. So
probably he has my freaking notebook.
There we go. So let's ask you, Pyro. How do you want to contribute, or how do you want to be part of the community?
Well, one of the things that ultimately, with me being a streamer, I want to present the game to the community in a fun light. And one of the things I focus on a lot, particularly Dawn Gate's a good example of this on WildStar, is anytime somebody comes in and asks me a question about the game, I am not afraid to stop and say, hey, This is what the game's about. This is how you get into it. And if you're a newbie, here, I'll show you the ropes. No big deal. Let's have a good time playing this game. One of the things that I focus on very hard is trying to maintain a good attitude. And when somebody has a shitty attitude, when somebody has a bad attitude, I try to say, hey, why you got to be like that? There's no reason. So I'm an anti-BM, the anti-bad manners, the anti being a not cool person in video games. There's no reason why we can't all have fun.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. The whole toxic community thing is just not good. I know that Riot has done an extremely well done job at really trying to make their community a better place. Just recently, I was shown a study that they did over on GDC, and they did a lot of like field test studies and stuff, and it was really interesting to see them go from just a completely negative and horrible toxic community to this like overall like encouragement style of stuff that they help promote. And I think that Motiga can do that really well, but it's nice to have someone that also thinks like that, so I'm really glad to see that, Pyro.
And on that note, that's also kind of what I want to try to do. That is not on the streaming front, but in trying to build a community, try to keep down the levels of toxicity. We have, not too strict, but we have rules in GLG, and for all our members, we try to keep them on the straight and narrow, try to keep the place very positive and very fun. And I'd love to bring that to Gigantic.
Yeah, that's gonna be my goal on the forums and the Reddits. I watch streams, I enjoy them, I get involved in discussions and things like that, but I tried video editing and I found out, whoa, this takes a lot more time than I thought.
Right.
Yes, it does.
Time that I did not have and still do not have. So I kind of forgoed that, but I will be heavily involved in any forums or Reddits that pop up. In the Guild Wars 2 Guru, like the very first Guild Wars 2 forum that came out, I was one of the most influential posters on the site. I have like over 8,000 posts on that forum. I was following everything.
Yeah, you do.
God, you sound like a friend of mine named Pedro.
I enjoyed every. See, I'm a forum warrior, but I'm an objective forum warrior. I keep like my emotions held in, and I try to do everything to improve the game or improve the community.
Well, good. Yeah, and I think there's the need for, and I think Pyro also talked about it. There's that need. There's a paradigm that happens, and there's a toxicity is going to happen no matter what. We've already started seeing it a little bit on some of the forums and some of the Reddits. People get heated, people get emotional, people get passionate. But it's only when those passionate people are dismissed that I think they start becoming toxic.
Right.
And everyone has their opinion, Jason, and let me finish mine, and I'll turn it over to you. Is everyone has an opinion. It's their opinion. It's what they believe. It's what they feel. That's not wrong of them to have that opinion. And so as community leaders, and that's why the first round of invites for this were people who were influential in the community, people who are participating in the community and actively engaged. But it's almost a duty that I've taken upon myself to help nurture away from that toxic environment. And I applaud you, especially for the stance that you're taking. And I think we need more of that. And Jason, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just honestly agreeing with you. I couldn't suppress the agreement, I guess, more so, because the way I feel about it is that gaming has come a long way from those untouchable Blizzard blue posts where they would post something and yeah, you could, voice your opinion on the forums, but it's almost untouchable. You almost felt disconnected from the development company. And I feel like gaming has changed so much so fast, mostly because of social media, where now you almost need to reach out to the community. At the same time, you can't, the community tends to bite the hand that feeds. That can happen, and I experienced that firsthand with Guild Wars 2, which I try to provide as much information and comfort, and as you said, let them express themselves. Yeah, they have a lot of things, and they just need to let it out, because if they don't, then it just turns viral like a cancer, and it spreads. And you need these people to express themselves, and and to let them know that these things that they're worried about are being at least heard. You know what I mean? They want to be heard, and if Motiga does a good job with with reaching out but not too much where the community starts biting and just kind of unappreciatively kind of putting out stuff there, that's a bad thing. So there needs to be a fine line. And so what I want to bring to the table, I guess, would be entertainment and personality, because when I stream, I kind of put on a little show, a little act to kind of get people riled up and hyped up and what have you, so they can express themselves. But at the same time, I don't want to take things too serious to the point where it just boils into drama. And so that's kind of what I'll be here for. That's what I did with Guild 2. I had an act, I would stream, I'd bring some people in, and we'd talk about what the community requires, but also just on a fun level. And that's why I'm here. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you said something, Jason, and I want to give a couple other people turns here. But one thing, Jason, that you said there is that people voice their opinions. The one thing about it is sometimes they're never responded to, and they feel like they're dismissed by the developers. I know more often than times than not, I'll email a development student, say, hey, this or that and the other thing. I'll get no response, not because they don't care what I have to say necessarily, but because they're so busy inside of the whirlwind that they just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's a topic that I want to breach here in just a few minutes is the type of communication we want to see. Or what works best for us. So I'd love to definitely hear from you, Paige, on what you think on this topic.
I am not much of a form warrior or anything like that, just to let you know. But I'm trying my best to not really go too much on that.
Oh, no worries. It's
Tim, if you could boost yourself, you're actually really quiet on the stream.
Am I?
Yeah, you are very quiet.
I'm a very soft-spoken, calm, quiet.
Increase yourself by about 50%, and you should be good.
So there's a couple of questions that popped up in chat that I think would be worth addressing real quick. This one's super quick. Felmal said, how twitchy is the game from those that have played? It's a PC shooter. It's going to be a bit twitchy. It's not UT2K4, so don't worry about that. But skill of aiming the mouse is definitely involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Quake or Team Fortress.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Aether had a question that I think is definitely worth addressing too. What can Motiga do to keep things from getting toxic? And my opinion on that is the number one thing you can do as a developer is take a stance on it. When you see it in your live streams, you can say, hey, knock that off and enforce it. From the player community standpoint, when the game actually launches, have a good game management team in place to be able to handle the ingest of reports, like player reports. Have a good reporting system that allows you to say, okay, this person's botting, this person's toxic, this person's doing whatever, so that you can try to cut down on some of that stuff.
But I think that leads to ask a question, Pyro, and what is defined as toxic?
A lot of that's going to come down to what people say in chat. That's number one. How they treat other people is number one, and toxicity generally is when somebody makes a mistake and you call them out on it. And the tamest level of it to me is when say I'm playing Dawngate, for instance, and I make a bad decision. Like I'm playing a tank and I make an initiation that was just stupid, and I realize that after the fact. Somebody turns around in team chat and says, "Why did you do that?" Why is such an irritating question. Not only it irritates me and makes me feel bad because the why is it's not helpful. Number one, and number two, that question is just designed to make people feel bad. So instead, it's a question of what can we do differently, or hey, instead of saying, maybe say, hey, that was kind of a bad initiation because, we weren't nearby, so next time let's try to stick together. Be constructive rather than destructive.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ken.
I want to say in here, like, part of the problem I have to disagree with some of the stuff that's been brought up in the terms of how this is being approached. My biggest issue is that we always want to approach the negative side of things. How can we prevent the negative? How can we handle the negative side of things and handle that? And I really have seen that is the bigger issue, is in our way of thinking in regards to that. As humans, we are naturally inclined to notice the negative more easily than the positive. We always want to point it out. We always see it, always guides us, it aggravates us more. And that's just a way of thinking that has sort of taken place, is to always identify negatives. Thus, that's all we see. We stop seeing the positives because all we see is start calling out all the negatives. And it's really got to be, I think, a movement almost within the community itself, from the devs and things, to start thinking ways to positively identify people. And this even goes down to the whole, if there's a report system in game, I mean, a report system that focuses on negatives, then people are only thinking about the negatives every single time. And we're no longer thinking about what was positive about this experience, who was positive in it, and how can those positive people be rewarded. And it's a much harder process to think about, honestly. It's easy to identify a negative and try to think of a way to discipline them. And it's much harder to think of a positive and whether a carrot on a stick, how long that's going to work, or things like those things are much harder to come up with a positive response and a positive feedback that will last long term. And for those who don't know, it basically takes about 3 positives to equal 1 negative in terms of responses for how it feels somebody personally. So when someone gets attacked negatively, it takes 3 positives to balance that out and feel better about oneself. So I think we have to honestly look forward towards a way to recognize the positives that are in people, and that's going to start from the developers and then from the community and going forward from there.
It's the philosophy of punish in private, praise in public.
Exactly, and what Pyro said is so completely true. And Kennedy, I mean, I feel like you packaged it up so well at the end there. Basically, what I wanted to add to that was that toxicity is viral. Basically, if a player does bad and then someone responds with negative attitude, then that player who's been treated this way is going to treat others the same way when he gets to that level, right? So I think you're on the dot with that, Kennedy. You need to promote better attitude, better play, so that teaches the newer players to act that way, because toxicity is viral, and that's why it's a problem. It's not just one person, it's one person spreading this negative attitude.
Absolutely. One of the things that I'm going to call out, I'm going to save another thing from Dawngate. Again, they have a system called Karma. At the end of the match, you can grant Karma to people, and it improves your loot roll at the end. So that's a great way for people to be able to reward each other for, like, if somebody's rude in chat in a game, and they're just blatantly rude about it, I won't give them karma. And then they have a crappier loot roll, they have a worse time. In the sense that their negative behavior is not rewarded with a loot roll. So that's one example of how you can reward people for better behavior. And once again, too, calling back out to streamers, forum warriors, community members, being positive is also contagious. Having a good attitude is how we're going to change that. And it has to start with us, the people that are in the public spotlight, people that are on the forums all the time, being more positive and offering better solutions to people who cannot see the positive. Some people get really consumed with the negative, so we got to help each other do that.
Go ahead, Chief.
So to take this a step further, one thing that always brings down a game, especially in the forum wars, is people come in with their intentions or impressions of what the game should be, not what the developers have intended or designed. So their comments always come across harsh with the fact that they're trying to call out, well, in this game or that game, or this doesn't work because it isn't like this. That brings a community down so fast. And I know in the way I give feedback in any game I ever play is you got to look at what is the developers trying to do and are they getting there? So when you provide your feedback and your critiques in the forums, in your streams or whatever, it can't be what you think the game has to be or what the game should be, or is it like such and such? But are they achieving what they're trying to do within their design? Feedback has to be positive. It has to build on what the intent is, not what you dream it to be. And I think if we focus on that as a community now and help teach people how to give positive feedback by looking at the systems and what's being designed, it goes a long way with keeping that out of the forums to start with.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point there, Chief. And something I want to kind of interject into, I believe it was what Pyro was saying about, I can't remember the exact point, I apologize. But basically, oh, I remember what it was. It was being positive is like contagious. And this was very apparent in WildStar when it first started being a game and getting a lot of activity on the Reddit and on the forums and everything else. And then once they started to not do what players wanted or whatever the problem was, is once people started becoming negative, then it just spread like wildfire. And most of the posts now are, this game's dead, I'm unsubbing, blah, 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 instead of what it used to be was, wow, Carbine's really, really good. Wow, they're really good at this, blah, blah, blah. So in terms of the whole negative aspect and being contagious, that is for sure a huge thing. I saw that in Smite a lot too, because the developers kind of let the top ranked players just kind of go, as they please and be complete asshats. And it's something that anyone who gets to that top position in terms of a figurehead in the community, whether you're playing, whether you're shoutcasting, whether you're doing a fan site, whether you're a mod on Reddit or whatever you're doing, you always got to stay positive because someone's going to look at you as and then they're going to be like, oh, well, you did it, so I can threaten to kill someone's mother too. And that's just something that we just can't happen. So I think the what Pyro said, I think, is probably the best piece of advice that I would give anyone trying to stay positive in the community is just remember that someone else is going to read that and go, well, he's a jerk, so I'm going to be a jerk, and then that just kind of escalates from there.
It's contagious.
One thing pretty much spoke exactly what I was just about to say, and that was on the point of positivity being contagious. More specifically, if you're trying to be positive to help spread positivity, don't look at a negative comment or whatever someone says and go and say the same thing they do. Don't go down to their level. You need to bring it back to being positive or at least to neutral.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point. Ralloff, by all means.
Well, I was just going to say, definitely bring it back up to that level of positivity when someone's negative. Like, that makes the big difference. And we're talking about positively reinforcing positive behavior. But it doesn't really need positive enforcement. Anyone who's played competitive games knows that a positive team wins more. As soon as somebody says something negative, as soon as someone says, yo, mid, you're feeding, you suck, the game's almost entirely lost. Even in games like Counter-Strike, if you've ever watched Counter-Strike, the monetary, like a loss doesn't really affect that many rounds ahead of it, but the mental momentum that you lose from negativity, you can see it even in pro players.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wanted to mention, I feel like we're almost talking about two different things. We're talking about dissenting opinions towards the developer, right?
Mm-hmm.
When they're not listening, especially. That seems to be the case. And then toxicity, and they're kind of two different beasts. Like, you're talking about top players in Smite, right? And especially early on, they got very negative, and they were also endorsed by Smite on their main stream page, right?
Yeah.
So, and that definitely rolled down into the community, which was an issue. But we also have to look at the other side of it. When you have that dissenting opinion towards the developer, and if the developer is taking the game in their direction, but a large segment of the community isn't approving of it, or they feel like they're not being heard, that's a huge issue. And it was a huge issue in Guild Wars 2, especially. I was active in World v. World, and that community didn't feel like it was being listened to for a very long time.
Yes,
I saw a very large amount of players drop out. I actually ended up leaving the game right before they revamped World v. World, but you had months and months and months of the same issues, and that spreads the toxicity that we were talking about towards the developer. So the balance between what does the developer listen to is kind of something I disagreed with when you were talking about that earlier, because the developer should listen to the community and take cues from the community if the community is vehemently against the direction that they're taking the game. Smite had this issue too.
Well, in terms of that,
disconnected from your channel.
We lost someone. I'm sad.
Yeah, Flux said he had to go.
Oh.
Too bad.
And I mean, welcome. It's really hard for developers to kind of nitpick on what type of feedback that they need to listen to. And I would really encourage Motiga to only listen to positive feedback, because as a long-term goal, that's going to help your game a lot more than if you listen to someone who maybe not be as skilled at game. And I know that sounds really, really horrible, but when it comes to listening to feedback, you want to make sure that you're taking the best feedback possible, not just from someone who's like, well, this unit's overpowered because it killed me, and then they just go off on a huge tangent. And then 4 other people are like, well, yeah, this unit is overpowered because they don't know how to counter it, or they don't know how to do whatever. So, like, in terms of listening to feedback, it's really hard for a developer to find the right style of feedback to listen to. And I would almost just kind of go with just listening to the constructive feedback rather than any form of negative, because I don't know, to me it just feels like that listening to negative feedback only further flames negative feedback.
I think though I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do think that is an issue that doesn't even have to be looked at if approached correctly. So every toxicity has some kind of source, maybe a balance change, a new patch, someone having a bad day, which is really hard to counter in any formal way. But in general, when you were just talking about you don't know how to counter it, instead of calling that out or just having that in your bag, I think the community itself should step up and always try to teach people how to counter that in that specific case, or just how to be better at the game or to be more knowledgeable about the game, so that they have a bigger view about the game, which will reduce these posts by such a tremendous amount. If you just say, not, oh man, you just had a bad engage or something, but hey, you had a bad engage, sure, but if you next time just wait a couple seconds or call it out in chat or in voice or whatever, we'll be able to follow up. And just always teaching and providing the information people need to understand is, I think, way more valuable than actually just saying, well, let's ignore all of that, because if they get ignored to a certain extent, toxicity will come about that, because they say, hey, we got ignored again because we think that is OP, because we don't know how to counter it. So why not teach them how to counter it?
The problem, though, I would say,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The problem I would say, though, is negative feedback isn't always negative. So to find negative feedback as something that shouldn't be listened to is almost having your feedback base. There are going to be people who aren't as articulate with their words, but they're
Correct. Yeah, that's true.
And the way that what they're trying to get across is as valid, if not a little more valid, than some things that somebody who writes a wall of text says. So I'm sorry. I know I cut someone off there. Clint, I believe that was you.
Yeah. That's why I hate the term negative feedback. It's only, well, yes, it may be negative in that it's pointing out a flaw in the design, or that it may be pointing out, hey, I had a bad game, this character's OP, blah, 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 rage. It's more important that it be categorized as constructive feedback. Even if people can't really words well, if they're not good with interpreting their thoughts through pure text on the internet, it's that the message is out there. Even if the worst forum troll whatever had a bad game or something, but he points out there's something wrong here, this character feels too strong, and then he starts getting a couple of people agreeing with him. And then you get this one person that adds to his response, actually giving constructive feedback of why it's too strong, and not only just, hey, this is broken, but what's most important, offering solutions. Have you tried looking at it this way? That could be to a developer, or that could be to a player. Like, player, did you consider this? Developer, did you consider that? With just a nice respect for who you're talking to at any given moment. Anytime you just point out a flaw whether it be to a dev or to a player, they get mad because you're criticizing them.
Right.
Any kind of criticism needs to be followed with
An explanation.
a suggestion, an explanation, anything of the sort.
Right.
You know, HD Fanatics says something in chat really that's actually really good. There's a difference between constructive negative feedback and constructive negative feedback. I think he typed that twice. But
words good.
But I mean, he points out a good point because, you know, and you guys definitely have corrected me on my statement, so I thank you for that. It's definitely there is a difference between negative feedback and constructive negative feedback. Like, do you think that we need some sort of I guess guide to how to address that, or should we just kind of let the community decide what is negative and what is constructive?
Well, I think depending on the platform that's used, whether it be a forum or a Reddit or whatever, we can definitely have some FAQs or some sticky posts saying, this is a good way to write a feedback post or a suggestion post. Definitely examples.
Pelican, you were chiming in?
Oh yeah. A little thing I wanted to touch on there. It had to do with something Troy asked earlier in regards to what they can do involving this process. It kind of goes with the critical negative feedback idea. The fact that it's something the developer actually should be able to do and provide, especially with things like patch notes. I've seen all too often in the past with various games, they'll release patch notes, they'll release balance changes, show balances, and not describe why they made the choice.
It's so frustrating.
And thankfully, across the board, I'm seeing it get better in many games. But that's something I love it when they can provide a balance change where it shows basically a paragraph stating, this is what we did wrong, this is where we think it needs improvement, here are why we are making these choices. And so every single bullet point, every single balance change comes why that change happened. It lowers the ability for people to respond with wild accusations and increases the idea that they can work with that and say why they don't like that design change and why they think it should be something else, and accidentally be more creative with it.
And
I just wanted to add to that point, just before anything, just in a general thing that the devs can do, just as a vague thing, what I kind of like with Guild Wars 2, sort of, they kind of put out a vision. What they did, their vision was a little too extreme, so what I'm going to say is put out a realistic vision of how they want to see the game kind of develop through these first few months, so people actually understand what kind of feedback they need. You know, too many times I see a lot of people putting feedback and giving things in where it's not focused enough on the vision of where the game is and where it needs to go, right? Because developing a video game, when it launches, it's not done. A video game's never done. It's constantly going through changes, and so you almost have to treat it that way. So you want to give people like a vision, a skeleton of, hey, this is kind of like what we're looking for. Are we heading in the right direction? And then that's another means for people to express themselves as well, just in a general way.
You know, and I think you bring up kind of the transition of the next topic that I really want to touch base on. And I'm sorry, Kennedy, but I definitely want to talk about this is as players, as people who have been involved in gaming in different facets. I've been involved in the community side for years and years and years. You know, Baz has been involved in the shoutcasting side. Sarkhan writes guides. How do you want to hear from Motiga? What do you think is the best avenue for them to communicate their hopes, their dreams, their wishes, their policies to us? Because, well, let's put it this way: I run forums, but I never read them because I just that doesn't reach out to me. But I'll listen to a podcast or I'll listen to a stream.
Right.
So I think Chief would probably have the best answer for that, since he's been doing this, I think, longer than anybody else.
Definitely, Franklin, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear from Lauren and Paige on these topics, so get them to chime in a bit. But by all means, Franklin, if you want to chime in.
As far as forums, I haven't really made them, but I have dealt with really bad critics on MMOs and stuff as a GM and administrator before, so I have had to deal with that as well.
But do you think
It's not
forums are a
fun.
good communication tool for getting information from the development team to the community?
Sometimes yes, depending on what type of forum it is too. Like community forum, yes, it's a great way to understand what the community is thinking of, even though you have to trudge through a lot of toxic threads. But when you do get like some people who do have the constructive criticism and stuff, it's very helpful to fix bugs that are within the game.
Lonrem?
Sorry, I was typing a response. We're asking if forums are worth using or not.
Well, in general, what tools do you think work for communicating developer community?
Gotcha. Blog posts, definitely the way to go for the developer to give a bunch of information. Forums, though, are actually, in my opinion, probably the last resort. There are better ways to contact and spread details. Forums, by their design, are singular and linear. They don't promote a discussion. A better idea is, a post system where you can post something and comments can be made and be read, but new comments new posts can be added to it, and so it becomes an active, organic conversation. So side conversations can break off and talk. Reddit does something similar. I'm not a huge fan of Reddit. We'll get into that some other time. But in general, forums, will end up expressing and talking about one topic, and then if it dares go off topic or veers off, then you have a problem, because now you're trying to have two conversations in the same forum, which usually means somebody's posts are going to be ignored, skipped, missed, deleted, banned, whatever. On the flip side, because forums are so linear, if you miss the thread at all, you had no idea. There's no way to catch up. So then you need that developer post that would say, hey, we had this conversation here in the forum. Well, if you're having the conversation, why bother having it in the forum at all when you could just make a post like this one and explain what's going on and allow comments to accrue within there, and encourage people to make blog posts and videos and responses like that, and keep an eye on them. And does it mean a little bit more work to the developer to keep their eyes out? Sure. And that's unfortunate. And I've mentioned it a little bit in the chat, they don't need to have official forums that they need to be moderating anyways. We've long since gone away. Any schmuck can make make a website with
Have you been to my website?
with stuff. Right, I was going to say, have you seen GG Unleashed? Anybody can make a website. So as long as developers are keeping an eye on those fan sites and make it open. Hey, you've got a cool fan site? Cool. Let the developer know. I can't even remember their names. The guys behind Warframe actually have an option where it's like, oh, do you have a fan site? Cool. Submit it here. We'll take a look at it. And if it looks like it's focused on our community and is a positive place, and you're not trying to totally free riot points here, just put in your password. If you're a legit site, they will back you up. They'll support you. I believe even the Warframe one is like, hey, we will give you platinum, which is their currency, to give away to promote and use on your community, which is a great thing. And it actually lets you, have a
disconnected from your channel.
Oops. Will actually allow you to have a place that, because it's on the official site, you would hope, that people know, oh, I have a problem. Let me look at these fan sites and, heck, go ahead and tag them with some stuff. Oh, this one talks about the esport aspect of Gigantic. This one's the, the more casual side. Oh, this is for this game mode, that game mode, or just, general conversation. So.
Well, you brought it up about the forums, and for anybody who was watching the chat a bit ago, Troy obviously asked out there about the official forums or community forums and stuff, and it brought up a very good point. And for those who were around, Malchior was talking about it too, in the Guild Wars 1 days where they didn't have any official forums, everything was so fan site dependent for the community. And that's what forums are for. Forums are an area for the community to hold a discussion and things. And as you were talking about recognizing those community sites, that's what Guild Wars 1 did. And ArenaNet originally had out there like, hey, you want to be an official fan site? Here's what you need to do. And then you kind of like registered yourself as an official fan site, and you were listed on their website then as as an official fan site for people to go to.
Still have that.
And
list.
they held interviews and stuff with those people, and all the time. And that was a great experience. But that's what a forum is for. It's not a communication tool for the developers to people. It's a communication tool for the active community who are wanting to be able to go in there while they're at work, leave a message or discuss a topic, and have that topic go back and forth. And that's similar to how Reddit is as well. And just like on Reddit, you see every once in a while a Motigan jumps in and gives a comment in there, and that's great. They show their interaction side of it. As far as how the developers themselves can interact and get information out there to the community more and provide their thoughts and provide their vision, we have obviously seen over the years this has changed, and new media is definitely the way that this has gone now into a very effective strategy. Hi-Res Studios, they're huge up there on Twitch. They're in the top 10 time for showing up on streams and stuff, because their devs are constantly interacting on their stream as well and giving out information. Patch notes weekly is a great thing for them to go over and show it off and things like that.
Always streaming 24/7.
Tryon does it. Sony Online Entertainment did it a while back with their they had like this huge 24-hour stream for their zombie game.
Oh no!
They have one for the zombie game, and they invited people from the like local college or whatever. They were coming through and they were doing Q&A all day, showing off different things on the game, and that was just a great way to get out their vision to people, get questions answered. And the great thing about live streams and that new media, the best thing about it is that the community feels involved because it's live. They can be there and chat. They can comment with each other. They can comment on what's being talked about, and they feel like they're actually a part of the experience, as opposed to a forum post where they feel like, oh, this was posted 10 hours ago, or I didn't see this, or I lost track of this.
To the game.
Yeah, and so that involvement that streaming has brought about is what really creates that connection for people. And that can be a double-edged sword that people might feel like they're too connected and expect too much. But it's about balancing that and getting it out there. But yeah, the new media is definitely a way to go in order to interact with your community and get your vision out there, get out your updates, get your information out there. It's just a very strong way to go.
Yeah, the only problem I think Motiga faces is Troy has a face for radio.
So everybody take your time getting that one.
So
Franklin, right over your head.
And Tim has a voice for TV.
I have a voice for not being in any public space at all. Franklin, what are your thoughts on this?
So there's a lot of good topics here, and like you said, forums have their place, but not for direct community relations. I like the suggestion about the official site having a blog where they post up their things. The biggest thing that ties a community together with the developers as far as direct relationship is the developer has to have tools to receive feedback. That is quintessential. Where most studios fail is the direct response to that feedback. And I think if they developed a way to collect feedback on specific topics, tied it to their development roadmap, and actually posted something after the fact, collect feedback for a week and then answer the top 20% of the feedback and say, hey, we've gotten feedback on this topic this many times, these are the general questions, and this is why we're responding, and have that two-way communication, at least the impression of a two-way communication. The community will feel so tied in with what's going on, even if they weren't the one that personally gave the feedback. But you have to have a good way to collect that, and just having a bug tool in-game if you're a tester is not always the way. For those that can't test, that are just watching streams or just reading the roadmaps, you need to have some kind of tool where you can submit it. Not necessarily an email, but some kind of way that the developers can easily go through it topic by topic and say, hey, everybody keeps talking about this Guardian and its abilities and their concerns, and then they come back with a response. You know, that type of thing really helps in the overall taking the toxicity out and keeps it out of the forums, keeps it out of the fan sites where the developers are spending too much time searching 500 fan sites, which are great. Don't get me wrong, I love fan sites. But it's got to be more collective from the developer side. For the community side, you're going to attach to the community that you like the best, regardless of all the sites.
So Sarkin, as a counter, would you build any kind of feedback tools or feedback system within the game client itself? And if so, how would you do that?
And I wanted to say that actually earlier to that, Malchior, is when we were talking about
Sarkin.
feedback.
Hold on, Justin. I asked him
I thought you
first.
were Fine, Sarkin,
Gosh,
go.
settle down, kids.
So I think a feedback system within the game is fine, but keeping in mind the type of game that Gigantic is, I don't think you would necessarily need a big one, unlike where you might in an MMO, where you're spending 2 or 3 hours in the game before you take a break to give feedback. You'd want a tool inside of it. Gigantics is about matches. You'd want to have something that's in the game but maybe just outside of matches to where they can say, hey, can I look at my video? Can I take a screenshot? Can I say, hey, in this situation, something didn't feel right? Yes. Would it need to be big and huge? I don't think so for this game.
You know, I think... Sorry, Kennedy, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the most common feedback you're going to see anywhere that players are going to post on Reddit, on forums, on wherever they go is going to be in 2 categories: hero feedback and matchmaking. Both things very possible to provide a in-game system for providing a quick feedback on, as well as a data gathering for the developers in that essence. Say you play a match and you choose Taito. You fit the match is over, a quick little pop-up appears right after the match asking you, Taito, does he feel OP, underpowered or overpowered? And just simple questions like that. And then then they'll leave a little box for them to provide any text they want to on top of it regarding that character. And that way it's just in regards to the character that you personally played. And that gives a very quick statistics and data for the developers to use. They can see your win losses combined with the recognition of how many people said he felt OP, how many people felt he said underpowered, and you start getting that feedback through there real quick, and that just gives them some kind of data to be able to utilize in some algorithm. And then as far as matchmaking goes, that one's a bit more iffy. Matchmaking can always be, did you feel like the matchmaking was good? It's really the only question you kind of asked there, if it was unbalanced teams or balanced teams. But that's something
invisible.
simple.
It's really hard to interpret.
It's an invisible system, so it's just really a personal feeling. But those are questions that those are things that people are going to go to the forums, go to Reddit for. And if you actually just provide that little bit of being able to do that in game, it almost stops some of them from going to another source to post their complaints regarding a hero's balance problems or the matchmaking balance problems. Because like, oh, I was able to provide my feedback in here. It was sent into them. And every once in a while, Motiga could release some statistics of what players are reporting while they're in the development stuff and say, here's some of the things that we have from you all, and here's the results of how many wins with Taito. He's actually winning 60% of the games, something like that. So they can actually provide that information.
Freaking beautiful.
The problem you face with that is how often or how long do those things pop up until you start ignoring them. I remember the early stages of many MMOs where they would pop up. Star Wars is a primary example. They had a survey. How was this quest? And for the first 100 of them,
annoying.
I was like, great, let me give this feedback. And eventually, I was just like, I don't care. I don't feel like it's critical.
You couldn't design this as a pop-up system. No, this would be a separate area within the game client or something that a player clicks into willingly. These will be the most vocal people. These will be the people that complain a bit. But even if in some complaining post, you can have some kind of search method to just like search for a hero's name and see Taito was mentioned by 500 different players.
Right.
And then you judge that by you filter that out by topic. Did this one was it like complaining, or did it have a whole lot of stuff? You could do these by filter words or by categories.
Like hero Facebook pages inside of the game.
Somewhat.
I mean, it
Like,
doesn't. It's
you
not a
can
terrible
also-
idea.
Tim, you can also limit it. So a patch comes out, and say we're only patching every 2 weeks. The patch comes out. This patch made changes to 3 heroes. You're only going to get those pop-ups. Maybe they design it to where you only get those pop-ups to those 3 heroes for like the first week or something like that, and that comes up when you're playing those specific heroes because those are the ones that got changes. How do they feel after this recent change? And that allows you to also focus it if you don't want it to occur so often. And for
I love
post-launch. For post-launch, it definitely has to be kind of like gotten rid of, but we know that, and this is a lot of the testing phase.
Well, it wouldn't even have to be gotten rid of because the idea would be they focus the immediate feedback and their in-game metrics on the high-risk areas, and the high-risk areas would be what just got changed.
Not a bad idea. The problem I can see running from that is going to be that if, say, for instance, they change Taito, and then you get feedback of, oh, well, how OP was he in this game? Well, the 4 times I was killed by him, it's because I was bad placement and stuff like that. So to me, he's going to appear overpowered.
Well, you only do it when you play that hero. That's the thing.
Well, okay, so then you have the issue of one-sided feedback. Oh, dude, he felt great. No, he didn't feel overpowered at all.
That's
I felt like
misrepresented.
right.
See, the thing is, that's where their metrics can come into play. Where other people say he's OP or something, they'll say, "Oh, Taito's only winning X% of his games," where X is like less than 33%.
So opinion versus statistic. So you clash them so that people get to see that.
Yes.
Okay.
Not clash. I don't like
No, not
clash.
clash. But I mean, like in comparison, just to right.
Kind of,
Okay, so-
maybe. It all depends. It really depends on how open they want to be with their statistics. Some people hold these things tighter than you would never believe, and ArenaNet's one of them.
So in terms of statistics versus like the OP discussion, Smite tried this and did not work very well. Mainly because in the higher top tier play, the statistics would be completely miscombobulated rather than it being like an overall percentage based, like from the community. Because what the top tier players were saying were completely different than what the players like you and me would be saying, and then the statistics said something completely different. So in terms of taking statistics, I have a hard time with that word apparently.
I have a hard time with that class.
Shut up. and taking that versus player feedback is really hard to try and narrow down, because an example I would give is Agni from Smite, which was incredibly broken for an extremely long amount of time, but they didn't do anything because the statistics showed that he wasn't winning a lot of games, even though he was incredibly broken. So they never really fixed him. So there's a problem with the whole number percentage thing, at least in a game, at least in a game like Gigantic, in my personal opinion, just from based off of what I've seen at least.
All right, that's cool. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So I'd love to.
It's a great idea.
How would it be? How would it be if you could use the statistics to narrow in your approach, to then ask the players about the specific issues, where you then gather their feedback to see
I think
counters
that's
your
perfect.
statistics.
Well,
We've kind of veered off topic a little bit. The original question was how do we want to hear back from Motiga? And then we've digressed into how does we want Motiga to hear from us?
Awesome derail.
Yeah, it really was.
I've
got a good answer for that.
We've got about 10 minutes left, so let's about 5 more minutes, 6 more minutes, and then we'll start wrapping it up, guys.
So,
well,
Troy,
on Motiga getting back to us, and we had talked about forums and replying to threads and such. I don't think that is a terrible idea in terms of having forums and having them reply to them. The problem would be to allow users to see these replies and see what is being said by developers in a good and intuitive way.
It's a great idea.
I can't say that Riot has a good system, but there's a site, a fan site of Riot's that tracks all the replies from Riot devs and puts it into like weekly posts, just long posts of Riot replies and what they've said about certain topics and what the topic was about. And that I think is a really good thing. I don't know how Motiga would do something like that if they're thinking about doing something like that, but I really like what they have done with the tracking of the developer replies.
Locksmith, my boy, you said mostly what I was going to say. That's why we're friends.
I like what Troy said. If stats say something that the player base disagrees with, we will listen to the player. That's the best thing I've heard all night.
We'll hold you to that, Troy. Screenshot say whatever.
He said we will listen, not listen to the player. Does it mean the player's right?
I'm waiting. I'm kind of saying that to kind of guide him into a clarification. I might be slightly manipulating him.
Pyro, you had something you wanted to say. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, first off, Troy's good at listening to the sound of his own voice, so we'll see about that. Secondly,
have you heard his voice? He's got the voice of an angel in a blender.
So smooth. Oh,
in a blender. I like that. So, going back to the whole feedback thing, having a presence on things like Reddit, your own forums and community forums, I think is really important. Because you can see that feedback, whether or not you reply to it. I think maybe, the Motiga's, the gigantic forums and the Reddit are a good place for this, to have those kind of replies from people come out that are actually, part of the development studio. And just being really upfront with the development process, too, is really big. Once again, I'm going to go right back to using Dawngate as an example. Waystone's done a tremendous job of doing that. And if anybody's been following Dawngate through development, you know that they are always in the Twitch streams listening to feedback. They are always in the subreddits replying and listening to people. They're very active in their own forums. And just seeing a reply from a developer that says, oh, hey, Pyro, that sounds like a really valid point. We're going to take a look at that. Thank you. Feels so good as a player, and that can really, really change the mentality of your community, is by the developers being directly involved.
Especially if they give you credit when they implement that.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that actually is an extremely good point, Tim. Giving someone or multiple, I don't care if it's 100 people credit, give them credit, because then that'll just spread like wildfire. Like no developer does that ever. So if Motiga, if you guys do that, I think that'll probably be a first in gaming history.
Microsoft did that with that kid who put a bunch of spaces in his Xbox Live password and was able to unlock like a back end and get every Xbox Live game. Yeah, he found this glitch in the Xbox Live network, and he was like,
okay, so besides Microsoft, you'll be the only company that ever do that in gaming history ever.
Well, they just give him security glitch credit, but. Yeah, I think that's huge. Like, embracing the people who are, what it comes down to is this: we have a game to play. We play, we gigantic. We play whatever we play, but everybody that plays the game isn't necessarily involved directly in the community. They might give feedback, and then that'll be the end of it. But when it's a two-way street, when we feel like the developers are as interested in us as we are in them, I think it takes away that toxicity that comes up and that inevitability. So I think that's actually really kind of an awesome thing is just give me credit for everything that gets good in the game.
Yes.
Well, another thing they can do, developers should start doing that hasn't happened a lot, is get ahead of the information game. If developers worked with the community, in my area of expertise, guides, if you put out good guides, there's less confusion, there's less toxicity, there's less arguing about how things should be done because the information holes are filled. Get ahead of that game right out the gate, and it makes it for a nicer community, less confusion, less problems overall. And the developers need to get involved with those people that do that for them and then build that stuff back into the game if it needs to. And
Yes,
if
sir.
it doesn't, then just support it officially as, yes, this guide is the best that we got going, or guides. And there can be hundreds of them on the same topic. It's just they need to acknowledge when they're good.
Yeah, the problem with guides, a lot of the times, like with like recommended builds, is they're awful. Like I know I don't understand why you would think that as game developers, most of them would know their game inside and out and go, okay, this is the perfect optimal build. This is what all the top players using. Let's put that into our game. But they go with like these weird builds, like boots first or 5 mana potions or something weird, and you're just like, why is this in the game? This doesn't teach players how to play correctly.
Well, I disagree with optimal build guides in the first place. I would never write one. It's more about teaching people how to understand what the game offers and let people make their own decisions.
Yes.
Thank you.
I completely agree with you, Sarkan. Like, that is a huge topic. And for the longest time, Smite had a hard time with guides. I don't know if you guys followed that. But Smite, and even now, even when I try to teach new players, because that's like kind of what I do, I try to, kind of nurture that. They're like, what site should I go to? If I look at this site, it's, this was posted in 2012 when the game first kind of got into open beta. And I think you're so right. You need updated posts that are kind of streamlined, that people can just, it's a guide. It's not there and saying this is the best. It's just a guide. It's there to support this person. And I completely 1000% agree.
I do want to say that the guides in games like League of Legends and Dota and Smite and stuff are by and by there to assist a new person coming in who has no clue what they're looking at item-wise, because they have so many items in that game. Right. It's like, what do I choose? And I think that's kind of one of the things we have a benefit here in regards to Gigantic, is that lack of items being so inundating and confusing and scaring you. Like, what do I choose item-wise? It's not there. It's like, ooh, well, I'm playing like this, so here's what I like about my character. Let's upgrade that. And I think that kind of helps with having to not limit that you must choose this path, and it's more like I like playing this, or I like doing this more, so I want to add points to that, or whatever it is. And I think that allows players to not have to create that idea of you must follow this streamlined set guideline that this pro player has posted that has 90% approval rating.
I stand corrected. All right.
Before we continue, let me ask this question. And there's going to be a bit of delay when we get feedback. It's 10:30. I wanted to bring this down to an hour. It is the first time we're doing this, so if you guys, if your vocal cords are up for another 30 minutes or so, then I'm down to do another 30 minutes. Of
I'm
course.
good for 2 more hours. Let's go.
Well,
I was about to say, I could go for about another 3.
Well, what we can do is we can leave this up, kill the video feeds, and let you guys kind of go to town. But we definitely want to get feedback from the Twitch channel, because at some point we have to cut you guys off, and
Do we want to go over the last topic that we had, Tim?
We will, yes.
Okay.
Assuming that we will keep going. Otherwise, we will broach the esports topic.
Broach
the esports topic. I think maybe we will table that either way, Pat. And I know that makes you sad in the face, but it's that's going to be a much longer topic, one that doesn't necessarily lead itself to the amount of time. So Troy has to go, and I am kind of tired, so that's kind of why I was asking these questions.
Thanks for coming, Troy. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, Troy, you rock, buddy. We'll see you soon, hopefully.
You're an amazing person.
I don't like you.
Wrecked.
I like you, Troy. Don't worry about Tim.
Don't worry about. I'm a terrible human being. My cat hates me.
We all know that.
Ouch. So what I'll do is we'll say our goodbyes, and then I'll kill the stream, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna post the TeamSpeak channel out to the Twitch, so anyone is welcome to join in and engage in this conversation. We'll move everyone up to the main lobby. So Baz, as soon as we get done, if you want to post that out there. So we'll start doing our goodbyes. I want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, Baz, Fox, everyone. You guys we had some amazing discussions. I think some really solid things to talk about, and I think we definitely hit some topic points that that the community wants to know, and we don't necessarily have the answers to, but it's definitely interesting to talk about. Yeah, Troy, you stink. Anyways, so moving right along, I want to thank all of you guys for taking your time out for joining us. Seriously, we're going to do this again. I want to say 3 weeks, but it might even be just 2 weeks, depending on how everyone feels about it. So let me ask you guys: would you like to see these on a bi-weekly or a tri-weekly?
Why not weekly?
Not weekly.
Weekly would just get
Bi-weekly.
boring.
Yeah, bi-weekly probably for the best, because I know Tim, we're doing other stuff on the channel as well, so it might be better to stagger content so we have like a couple weeks where we're doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I don't
Let's
mind
have a
tri-weekly
daily-
either.
Let's have a daily half an
Daily.
hour show where we only introduce ourselves.
That's IRC.
Sick.
Yeah. So
Daily shows in IRC.
I can't. I don't know. I can try, Troy. I'll try and get the chat. It truncates the log, but I will. I'll email Twitch and try and get it. So with that, I want to thank all of you guys, and we'll give you guys all a moment to say your goodbyes. So we'll start up at the top and work our way down. You're at the top, guys.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. I do appreciate it. Want to give a shout out.
Daily.
Daily, I don't
He
think.
would.
Yeah, Troy. Well, okay, Troy. We'll do daily, but you just have to feed me donuts and coffee. So, but big shout out to Motiga for allowing us to create a community that is pretty positive for the most part. I think I've only seen like one negative comment on Reddit, and that's literally it. So, big shout out to you guys, the community that are really staying positive. That's awesome. Can't wait to see more. And shout out to everyone in TeamSpeak for taking the time out of their night, morning, or afternoon, wherever you guys are, for talking about some awesome stuff. And I do want to thank Tim as well for hosting the stream and creating a pretty cool fan site. Don't forget to check out the wikis as well. Some really useful information there, also on Reddit. And then we have an IRC channel as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Bazil and YouTube/Bazil. And I'll be streaming once I'm allowed to, and once the game actually goes into non-NDA status and all this other fun stuff. So,
Thanks for stealing my thunder. I was going to totally talk about your YouTube channel.
well, you still can. Go ahead.
No, we'll let Fox. Just not as long as Baz.
Yeah, I'll just do the TLDR version. Thanks everyone who's here hanging around. Don't forget to hit that follow button because everyone keeps forgetting about Twitch, guys. But yeah, just thanks to everyone who is in the community right now because the community so far is awesome. And yeah, I can be found on Twitter. If you want to find me, you will find me. Name is Fox. Good night.
All right, Franklin.
Alrighty, well, it's great talking with everybody. It was a really good discussion. I look forward to the next council chamber meeting, whatever you want to call this thing. And yeah, everybody should be able to find me. I'm Chief Sarkhan pretty much everywhere. So just hit up the follows and yeah, we'll be chatting.
I was going to go with Tribunal, but that just sounded bad. Locksmith.
Yes. Good night, everyone. It was a very good discussion. This first gigantic community council. Looking forward to being on more. And if you're interested in joining GLG, just look for Good Looking Gamers on Facebook. Yes, GLG stands for Good Looking Gamers.
I should be a part of it. Damn.
Terrible.
We are in the process of we may be in the process of moving right now, so I'll keep you posted on that. But if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter as GLG_Locksmith.
Good looking gamers, oh man.
That's right.
The best thing I've ever heard.
I'm gonna absolutely.
Jason.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me, everyone. I appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter at Jason Pleso. You can find me on Twitch at Jason Pleso and on YouTube, Jason Pleso. So thanks for having me. I can't wait for more of this kind of stuff because this is awesome and cool. So thanks. Appreciate it and good night.
Kennedy.
Hey guys, yeah, it's been awesome to be here. As everyone was saying, I guess you can follow me anywhere, JKKennedyTV, just about. And one thing I want to put out there for all of you who are watching this stuff, I implore that you get involved with the community, whether it's on Reddit, IRC, here in Twitch chat, on the GG Unleashed forums, or wherever else, because just by getting yourself involved, it's a this is a unique experience as part of a game, and you're just gonna love the game and feel so much more a part of it. Something you don't forget when you're involved in the community early on and help building that. So join all of us whenever you can.
Lauren?
Sorry, Tim.
Did you do that?
I meant to hit something else.
I'm taking away your power.
I misclicked. I'm such a butthole.
How do you misclick? There's nothing to click on.
No, I'm using a different.
You suck as a human being.
Wow, that's hurtful.
Let's hear
Well,
about
it was
Anok.
nice chatting with everybody. Hope to see more of you guys around the Nook. But I look forward to more community development. I look forward to chatting with the rest of you guys and supporting the developer and the community. And yeah, I'll be here for the next however long you guys are here. If anybody has questions or want to talk about promoting their communities, linking their communities, etc., etc.
And do you want to talk about your website real quick?
Oh no, I'm good. I'm not here to talk about the website.
Oh,
right now.
by all means. Anok, A-N-N-A-N-O-O-C, no, whatever it is.
Wow.
See? I'm hacking it, so he'll talk about it.
You
A
sure you're
small
not drunk, Tim?
community.
ANOOK.com, Anook.
Yep.
It's
It's a
pretty
good site.
awesome.
You should check it out.
/
Yeah.
a cranny.
Amazing.
Malchior?
Yep.
Yep, I had a fantastic time talking with all of y'all. You can find me at Malchior Devon on Twitter. I'll type it out.
It's really complicated. Get the longest
I
Twitter
really-
handle ever. It's so,
I
it's like,
really
dude,
need
change your Twitter handle.
I should if I can. But yeah, that's where I'm at. That's usually the only place where I'm at, though I am Malchior on the gigantic Reddit as well.
So just pro tip, if you guys right click on your name in TeamSpeak and click change nickname, you can put your handle afterwards.
Oh yeah, I've done that. I typed
Well,
it
then you can
to-
put your Twitter there.
Oh yeah, because people are coming.
Yeah, look at that. Pelican.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hosting this. It was nice to be a part of it. If anyone would like to speak to me or contact me, you can often find me in the IRC chat for Gigantic and also Boozy Pelican on the subreddit. And we're doing pretty well as far as membership. It seems to be growing steadily. And we are not sure what yet, but when we hit 1,000 subs, might be doing something for that.
Ooh.
Could be cake, could be pie, not sure. Since
Pie.
you guys like pie, I guess you talk
I
about it all
like-
the time.
I'm sorry, I like cake over pie.
Oh,
Cheesecake.
But anyway,
Yes, cheesecake, ultimate top tier.
yep. So you can find me in either of those places pretty often. I try to respond to messages as quickly as possible, and I hope everyone has a nice night.
Pyro?
Oh, well, sorry I missed the last half of that there. I was eating fish and sweet potatoes and drinking coffee.
Was it freshly made?
What?
Was it freshly
Yes.
made fish sticks? Or freshly
No.
made fish fillets?
Yes, and it was amazing. But yeah, thanks for the discussion, guys. I'm really looking forward to the community stuff with Gigantic and Motiga, and you guys can find me at on Twitch here, Pyro Insane. Just click on my username, and on Twitter at Pyro Insane as well.
And Ralloff.
Oh, just thanks for having me in the chat. It was fun.
Well, thanks for being. And I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. We had I don't know, peaked at some 70+ people. Could be an all expense paid troop. Yeah, Troy is trolling. So I definitely want to thank everyone who came out. It was definitely a good time, and I think this consensus is we're going to do these bi-weekly. Wow, Troy, thanks. So I'll put out a tweet. So just make sure you're following me at @GG_unleashed. Always in IRC. We're always on. I'm always reading the Reddit. So I wanted to give a big shout out to the guys over at Reddit, Pelican and Narwhal and Shu. They've done an amazing job with a Reddit. We have a really fantastic wiki by Blizzcrut, who couldn't be here with us this evening. So make sure you check that out. Obviously, check out ggunleashed.com.
obviously.
Obviously.
They mostly
If
come
you
in
guys
right.
want to get involved, I know Motiga has some positions posted on their site, so head over to motiga.com/careers and check those out. Make sure you're also following all the social medias at Go Gigantic and all that good stuff. So thanks everyone. Like I said, we're gonna open up the counts of doors, as it were, but I'm gonna shut the stream off. So we're gonna post the TeamSpeak server is ts.ggunleashed.com. That's ts.ggunleashed.com. I'll be up in the lobby chatting with you guys. Otherwise, thanks so much for coming out, guys. Have a good night, and I'll post the next. It'll probably be 2 weeks from today, unless I'm in a ditch somewhere.
Don't say that's horrible. You're not gonna be in a ditch.
You never know. Maybe I decide I
Knock
want to
on
stream
wood.
from a ditch.
Maybe he digged a ditch.
Maybe I dig ditches.
Maybe you'll be in my closet, tied for ransom. I don't know.
Wow,
Look
it
at
puts
that.
the lotion on.